A Belgian Olympian is making headlines after posting a tearful video to Instagram when she was put into quarantine after testing positive for COVID-19 on arrival in Beijing. Of course, Western media are already having a field day with this story, but is there more to it? Well, let's get reporting. 大家好，欢迎回到外媒看中国，我是安博人。我现在要用这个机会祝你们新年快乐。Hey you guys, welcome back to Reports on China. I'm Andy. So far, the Beijing 2022 Winter Games facilities have been a hit with athletes from around the world, with many posting photos and videos online sharing their warm welcome to China with the world. But a member of Team Belgium is making headlines after becoming unhappy with Beijing's epidemic prevention measures. Kim Meylemans, a skeleton racer, tested positive for COVID-19 when she arrived in Beijing a few days ago and became frustrated when she was placed in an isolation facility, as per the guidelines of the Winter Games. According to those guidelines, which every single Olympic team has known about for some time, COVID-positive athletes have to remain isolated for 7 days after they achieve 2 negative COVID tests. Although they're still allowed to train and compete, but they need to stay in a room alone, eat alone and travel alone during that 7 days. On Wednesday, Kim posted a tearful video to social media, which seemed to centre around the fact that she wasn't being allowed into the Olympic Village to be around the other athletes, which she equated with being alone. Let's take a quick look.
I'm supposed to stay here for another 7 days with 2 PCRs a day. And no contact with anybody else. I am allowed to slide alone. We are not even sure I will ever be allowed to return to the village. And obviously this is very hard for me. So I ask you all to give me some time to consider my next steps, because I'm not sure I can handle 14 more days and the Olympic competition while being in this isolation. Thank you.
Now, it turns out Kim is allowed to stay in an isolated room within the Olympic Village, but she was initially taken to a separate quarantine hotel, while an adequate room and provisions to allow her to remain completely isolated while continuing to train were prepared within the village. Today, Kim was allowed into the village, but not after her tearful video unsurprisingly became fodder for Western media. The New York Times ran with a dramatic headline, as usual. Confusion, frustration and tears. A Belgian Olympian's day in isolation. Through tears, the overly dramatic article begins. Kim Meylemans explained how she had thought her nightmare was over. Keep in mind that Kim comes from a country of 11 million, where over 3 million have caught COVID. That's more than 1/4 of the entire population. Now, as someone living here in China, that sounds more like a nightmare to me. Anyway, the New York Times quotes the Director General of an advocacy group called Global Athlete, who literally shows in just 2 sentences why he's absolutely not fit for his role. This is the problem we said there would be from the beginning. No one knew what to expect. Again, the Beijing 2022 COVID guidelines have been available for anyone to see. Now, perhaps Global Athlete should be more on their game, mind the pun. Ironically, Australia's 7 News called it a Beijing 2022 isolation nightmare, where the entire article is sympathetic for the Belgium, despite Australia just recently deporting world #1 tennis player Novak Djokovic for trying to skirt Australia's strict COVID measures by visiting the country unvaccinated. More than 2/3 of Australians agreed that the tennis star should be deported, which goes to show that either the country's media are completely out of touch with their own audience, or that they're blindly following a rules for thee but not for me mentality when it comes to China. It's probably a mix of both. 7 News quote Belgium Olympic delegation leader Olaf Spaal saying that their main goal was to get the athlete to the Yanqing village as quickly as possible. He then hilariously goes on to say, We understand that the COVID measures are necessary to safeguard the safety and health of participants in the Games, but we believe that the athlete should always be at the centre of such an approach. So you want to ensure the health and safety of participants, but you also want to get a recently COVID positive athlete into the Olympic Village as quickly as possible? Okay, sorry if I don't quite see the logic there. BBC reported that Kim now feels safe after arriving at the Olympic Village, just days after returning a positive COVID result. The irony of ironies. But the next sentence is telling. She said, "It seems like the video and the efforts of my Olympic committee have really paid off." Now, I found this quote really quite interesting because I find it quite confusing how an Olympian who's spent years pushing her body and brain to extremes could so easily break down after just a few days being by herself. Many comments online asked the exact same thing, which got me wondering if her teary video was just some kind of emotional manipulation, something she knew would be picked up by a media already thirsty for dramatic news from communist China. Keep in mind that Kim's home country, Belgium, also has strict quarantine rules for those who test positive, despite their huge number of cases. It has been reported that Kim was struggling with COVID before she even headed to Beijing, which means she will already have been in isolation in the weeks leading up to arriving here in China. That is, if she followed her own country's rules. I'll go out on a limb here and posit that Kim and her team purposefully concocted the idea of filming a tearful video in order to put pressure on the Olympic organisers to let her into the Olympic Village quicker, knowing that Western media runs off emotions and drama and not logic and a cool-headed approach. And I think I know why. Now, it turns out that Kim's girlfriend is fellow skeleton racer for Team Brazil, Nicole Silveira, and she's also in Beijing for the Winter Games. The pair met 3 years ago and officially announced their relationship on Instagram last December. Now, you can probably imagine how busy life is for Olympians, especially in the lead up to the Games. And you can also imagine how hard it must be to find time to see your partner, especially when your partner is also preparing for the Olympics and lives halfway around the world. So getting the chance to compete against each other here in China is almost definitely serving as a chance for the pair to catch up, spend some time together and build some awesome memories. You can see how much going into isolation after testing positive for COVID would throw a spanner in the works, right? In any event, it looks like most of the Olympians who have arrived here in China so far are having an awesome time, and they're gearing up for an action-packed Games. What do you guys think? Let me know down below, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.